Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Today, I've got Stephen, who's from the Mindful Bubble. We will be talking about mindfulness, and he will talk more in details about what his business is about and what he does. Stephen, can you introduce yourself to our viewers today? Thank you for coming.
Okay, morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are. My name is Stephen Ismail Thomas, and I am, I run a business called the Mindbubblesproject, and I work with a wide range of people, from kids, young people, young adults, senior members of the community, all ages, all sizes, all creeds, all colours.
Lovely.
So
Thank you very much.
The work that I do. You're welcome.
Thank you. I've seen one of your videos where you were talking about self-regulation. I'd like you to talk about what really self-regulation is about and what the benefits are. Thank you.
Yeah, so obviously there's a clue in the title. So being able to self-regulate is to be able to manage your feelings and emotions and be more present. So that includes trying not to be an autopilot all the time. When strong emotions coming up, being able to kind of ride the wave and regulate your breathing or any other body sensations that are going on, so you can tap into your breath or your heartbeat or your pulse or some kind of movement in your body to distract your mind from kind of spiraling. So the ability to self-regulate is a way that you can adapt to many different types of situations, especially a situation that can spiral out of control, but you manage to bring yourself down and to anchor yourself. So that takes a lot of practice outside of situations that happen, but you can build muscle memory in and around practicing very short exercises every day or whenever you can to help you learn to regulate yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's really lovely. That's really interesting. I was going to ask you when you would suggest for us to start self-regulating, as in what age? Can I start with my children right now, or is it for older people, my age upwards? Or
it's for all ages. Anybody can do it, from senior members. I mean, I work with people that are retired, all the way down to kids that are in early junior stage, so like 6, 7. But you can do it with kids in nursery, or even kids younger. So it's really, the younger you get them, the easier it is to kind of cultivate the methods, because it's a thing where you want them to be, you want people to be able to use it anytime they're starting to feel anxious. So with the younger people, especially young children, if you're doing it regularly, they then start to think about how they can manage their emotions. So I mean, you know, when you get the terrible 2s and 3s,
yeah,
when a child can't, any little thing is a big drama. It's because, you know, their brain is developing at such a fast rate, but their body is at a different stage, so they can't manage these big waves of thoughts because it's just too much for them. So you can really start at a young age when they're absorbing all of the different types of learning that they're doing, and it's almost like if they see you doing it, they're likely to copy.
Yeah,
this is where young kids copy their family members and things that they do. If you're doing like a breathing exercise, they're more likely to copy it. So as they go through school, it's like giving them a toolbox of different exercises they can do at any given moment. So I usually start with a very simple one, which is called finger breathing. And the kids seem to like this, where they mimic the breath with the movement of their hand. So you can do that with a very young child to allow them to start to calm themselves.
Okay.
So they kind of focus on the hands and they kind of get distracted in terms of what's going on up here if they're having strong emotions that are affecting them. So, you know, someone doesn't want to play with them, or another child took their toy, or they're trying to verbalize something and it's not making any sense and they get quite distressed. That's a very good one to do with early years. But as they get older, we kind of work on different breathing exercises, because the breath is the breath is the main thing we use in mindfulness. I mean, mindfulness is really a term coined by the West, you know, taken from a South Asian practice that's been around for over 2,000 years. So human beings have been doing this an awful long time, but the West has obviously kind of appropriated their culture and just rehashed it and given it this name. But I mean, people have been regulating themselves for centuries. It's part of many cultures, you know, depending on where you live in the world. And it's just the ability to just manage your emotions at any given time. So with the young people, children, it's just a series of exercises I give to them in the work that I do. But we also talk about the science, you know, what happens in your body when you get anxious, you know, what happens in your brain, what happens in your, and we kind of explain that to give them an understanding of what's happening.
Yeah.
So they're more present in terms of, okay, my heart is beating faster, you know, my breath is, it's more shallow and it's not as controlled. So they notice these stress signatures, I call them, and they're able to say, okay, what can I do to bring it all down? Yeah. So you kind of have to explain what's happening in the science and then give them tools that they can tap into, or they just don't understand. It's like, why is this happening? What happens in my brain when, you know, I'm not happy with something, or I can't understand something in class and I get frustrated? You know, they start to notice things because kids are very intuitive. You know, I think they're more in tune with what happens in their body than with adults, because we're conditioned and programmed. After a while, we're just, you know, we're on autopilot a lot of the time. And then we have to do the rewiring. With kids, they're still able to, their rewiring is a lot easier, you know, because they're not as developed in terms of the programming they've received in school or in society. So I think that you can do it at any age. You know, you can start tomorrow and, you know, just build on practice, you know, and practice makes you better. But you're also building muscle memory. So every time you do it, you're adding a layer to that then building new neurons to your brain and pathways and all of that stuff. And your body remembers what it's learned. So, you know, as long as you're practicing and you're practicing consistently, this is the key. You will start to see incremental changes in how you're able to manage your emotions.
No, thank you very much for explaining that. I think even as an adult myself, I feel if I understand what really happened, and let's say using breathing exercises, what's happening to my body, why should I do it? I think that would give me more comfort, you know, in knowing that what I'm doing actually works, especially during a time of anxiety. You know, you really want to know the right tool to use. You don't want to be just trying out at that time.
Definitely. And you're right. Absolutely right.
You've shown us one of your techniques, but I was just going to ask you do you have any other techniques that you would also suggest on top of that for the children as well?
Well, so the really simple ones done effectively and over time will really help you anchor yourself. So I usually start with the finger breathing, but I also do alternate nostril breathing, which is and I'm going to show you, I just want to explain. So you basically open and close each nostril to regulate both chambers of the brain. And what it does is it really helps depending on when you do it. So if you're, you know, when you're at school or in work and you get those moments where you zone out.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
happens to me.
So
Yeah.
a lot of kids do that in school. You know, the lessons can be quite boring. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. No, that's true.
I can
Yes.
understand why they're somewhere else. It's a reset. So what you're doing is that you're getting the same amount of oxygen to both chambers of the brain.
Right.
So it's almost like where one side of the brain isn't getting the same amount of oxygen, it kind of like half asleep, not switched on. So you're just regulating both sides now.
Yeah.
Because throughout the day you breathe through each nostril. You don't breathe equally. So it's like the left nostril might be taking in more oxygen, but you wouldn't know unless you did the exercise. So the right side of the brain won't be receiving as much oxygen. So therefore it isn't as awake. Yeah, so it's a reset. So I'm quickly gonna do a demo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it the most simple way. So you always use your right hand as well, just to respect the culture. Because obviously outside Europe, people don't really tend to use their left for religious and cultural reasons.
I'm left-handed.
I know, but usually, but we use our right hand.
Yes.
If you're left-handed, obviously you can use your left hand.
Right. Okay.
I know that some people are culturally sensitive, so I just give them the information that I've been told. So I'm gonna close my right. I'm gonna breathe in through my left. Then I'm gonna close my left, and I'm gonna breathe out through my right. Then I close my right and breathe out through my left. And then I go back. So what I've noticed is that my right nostril is stuffy.
Okay.
It's not clear.
Yeah.
So already after 2 cycles of breath, I've noticed that this one's, so I know that this nostril hasn't been taking as much oxygen as this nostril. So it means my left side hasn't received as much oxygen. Okay. So if I did that for a couple of minutes, both sides will receive the same amount of oxygen, and then it resets the brain.
Right. That's very interesting.
That's really good to do in the morning.
Okay.
When you get up throughout your day. They're saying, and I've read research that if you do that for 10 minutes a day, it can help people that suffer with a lot, like chronic pain.
Right. Okay.
And it helps with sleep. I did a one-to-one last week, and the person has never slept well. You know, they've had some recent surgery and been in a lot of pain. And while she was doing it, within 5 minutes, she was feeling sleepy. She was yawning. I asked the next morning, how was her sleep? And she said she slept for 6 hours, and it was the best sleep she had in ages. So that isn't some fairy tale. That was somebody who had did it with me and found like they're now practicing every day, and they're finding that they're having a better quality of sleep. Yeah, so you can do that throughout the day, but it's really good to do first thing in the morning and before you go to bed. Just a little bit of headspace. Like I remember you said that when's a good time to do mindfulness. You can do it throughout your day whenever you need it, but doing it first thing in the morning before you leave your bed and doing it before you go to bed, separating the waking day from the sleeping day is really, really important, because you want to be able to relax your nervous system. So if you relax your nervous system, then you're in a calmer state. Your brain is more relaxed and able to not switch off, but just wind down or take it down a notch. And that's what you want. Yeah.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that story as well. Because obviously especially for people who are not familiar with mindfulness, you know, they might want to know whether it really works. It sounds so simple, you know. I've also mentioned before our conversation that I've used the tapping technique myself. Yeah. I don't really know much about it, but I was having really serious migraines, and I just needed to do something about them. So I found it really, really helpful. You know, I just found it just made me feel so much better, you know, within seconds, to be honest. I don't know, because I'm now just looking at our time. I'm not sure how long we have. But I was also going to ask you, are these like, because we will have maybe professionals who want to know whether these are research-based, and you've already shown some of the techniques that you also use for children, you know. So I just wanted to know if there's anything that you can say to professionals or other people who might think, I'm not really sure about this. Does it really work? Will it really benefit me?
I don't know much about the tapping technique.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to a few people, but from my understanding is that when you sorry, so when you're on autopilot or you're starting to feel anxious, when you're talking about the anxiety, it usually brings up stuff.
Yeah.
Like how you verbalize it or the reactions in your body. So I think when you tap it, it kind of helps you either bring it down a notch, or you're able to reflect a little bit better. So I think when you're reliving an anxious moment or trauma, if you're tapping, it's almost like telling your body it's okay, you can be calm. So when you're talking or you don't, it made me feel this, brings you down. So I think you're sounding more. So if a child is upset and you're asking them what happened in the playground, and they come in and say, this person, and it's like if they're tapping, they're able to like be a lot more calmer.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I just because my migraines were around the temporal side of my head, so I really just went on and just tapped the painful area, and the more I just did that, the more it just, because obviously there's anxiety that comes with my head is aching so bad, there's that also, and you're like, I really need this to go away as fast as I can, but as I kept on tapping, I guess I'm not also concentrating on the problem, which also obviously contributes to panic, so because I'm concentrating on just tapping it there. But I'm aware that there are people who I think they start here and do all, but for me, it's really
you can do it in yoga. I mean, I've seen people do it in yoga classes at the end,
right?
And they do it. So obviously, this isn't something new.
Yeah.
And I remember that was last week, and the person was tapping the whole body, and I think that was to stimulate blood flow.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Can you share with us your website, because I'm not really sure again whether we have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Where can we find you? And after this conversation, I would like you to maybe also share one of your links as well, like one of your videos, so that people can see more about what you do.
Yeah, so I have a website called mindbubbles.co.uk, quite simple. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Just type in Mindbubblesproject and you'll find me.
Yeah.
Because it's quite a unique name. No one else is using it. You'll be able to find me quite quickly. So I have my main social media outlet is Instagram, and I post most of my exercises or the stuff I do in the classroom or workshops on there. So it'll give you a more rounded view of what I do on a week-to-week basis. It's quite easy to like post up stuff. So anything that I document, you'll find it on Instagram and LinkedIn. My LinkedIn name is Stephen Ismail Thomas.
Okay. So do you also do one-to-one, as in, can you work with an individual? Can you work with a family? Yeah. Yeah.
So I do one-to-ones with all ages. So currently I see a 11-year-old boy who suffers with anxiety, social anxiety, once a week. I'm also working with a recovering cancer victim who's 6 months clear, and helping them with just the daily stresses of recovery. So breathing exercises, reflection. I also do group work, community group work. I do physical classrooms, I do corporate, I do everything. Yeah. So if people want to get in touch with me and do one-to-ones, I do one-to-ones with the child over Zoom, or we can do it physically if you're in London. But Zoom seems to work for an hour, where we do reflection, regulation, breathing, breath work, as I call it, and general health and well-being. So these sessions are structured, and we start off with small exercises, and we go into longer meditations as the client or young person gets familiar with the work that I do. I also do group work online. I've done from 10 to 250 like workshops for corporate. So I've adapted to the new normal. You know, I prefer the physical work because it's mindfulness. It's really like being present physically is a lot better than via a camera. However, you know, we have the ability to adapt, and I'm more than happy to work via Zoom or Google Meets or whatever. You just have to make it engaging, you know.
Yeah.
It's difficult
Also because there's some people, you know, there's some people who are more introverts. They might want to work by Zoom. They might feel more comfortable than in person, really. So
I try to make the sessions engaging and fun. And that's how people remember the exercises, because sometimes we get a little bit silly.
Yeah.
But if we get a little bit silly, you'll definitely remember what you've done with me. So there's an exercise I do with a straw.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen that one as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen that one. There's one we do with the tongue, taco. So it's like, but they're silly, but you won't forget them.
Yes, but they're really good. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's just different exercises that people can do. Depends. You might like finger breathing. Another person might like taco breath. Somebody else might like the bumblebee one, you know. So I have a bag that I go into depending on who I work, and I do all of them. And this person might say, I like this one. Okay, let's practice that for 5-6 minutes. But I need people to realize that it takes consistent practice to build up it's almost like a resilient jar, you know. You don't just tap into mindfulness when things are difficult.
Yes.
You know, you go to the gym or whatever you're doing to get you to a place where when you need to do something, you've already done the training. Yeah. So it's about mental wellness. So you're doing this over a period of time. So when you get hit with something that's a little bit difficult, you're able to go into your toolbox, pick something out that you know works, practice it, and it be something that, oh, this really helped me in the time of difficulty. Like I had an road accident a couple of weeks ago, and I was on. But I know that in order to keep myself calm, I tapped into one of my breathing exercises. It's not something that I just teach. I do them myself. Yeah, because with mindfulness, if you're not doing them yourself, you can't be telling anybody else, oh, you should practice this, you know. So I'm talking from a place of understanding, you know, from a learned experience, you know, and it doesn't work for everybody, but for most people, once they try it and try it for a while, there's some kind of benefit. You know, so
I think it's not because there's different techniques. So like you're saying, you know, there's so much that people can choose from. It's not just breathing. It's not like I like breathing exercises, for example, you know, it's so many, you've got a variety of techniques that you can use for.
And that's important for people, different learners as well. So the first thing I would do in a session is, rather than asking you how you are, I'll ask you to look at your last 7 days. And give a score, depending on, and something that was good about your week and something that wasn't. And like when you do that with kids, the ability to reflect is really important. So they start to develop an understanding of when things are good, when things are not so good, when one thing can completely take over your day and you only zoom in on the negative aspect of what happened for 5 minutes. So what about the rest of your school day? You know, because as human beings, we tend to focus on the negative because that's our hard wiring. You know, those are the kind of things that kept us alive when we were hunter-gatherers. So if you came across an animal and it bit your hunter partner's leg off, that animal isn't something that you need to be around. So you would remember that bad thought rather than the thousands of times that animals walk past you and you've not bothered it, it's not bothered you. You know, so those things kept us alive, but we still kept that hard wiring. So it's really understanding why the brain works a certain type of way. You know. That's important. For me, the understanding is the real shadow work. It's like, why do we, I want to know the whys. Why do we do certain things in response to the flight, freeze, or fight mode? Yeah. And it goes back to when we were hunter-gatherers and all we did was hunt for food, you know, and we were in so much danger. And our brain hasn't changed since then, the oldest part of the brain. And I'm not a neurologist, but I know what parts of the brain we use for mindfulness and how it works. You know, and explaining that to people, to the kids, it's like they understand what the prefrontal cortex does. They understand what the amygdala does. They understand what the hippocampus does, because they've seen Inside Out. So they know that relating to the characters, Joyce is the PFC. She's the prefrontal cortex. She's the control center. Yeah. He makes sure everybody's doing what they need to do. There's another character that's always angry. That's the amygdala. You know, the warning system, your security system. You know, your intellect does this. They understand that from a very early age. And what happens when you get stressed or anxious. You know, a lot of adults don't know that. We're just going through life not knowing how things work. But they affect us, especially Black people. You know, our stress signatures are so much higher. You know, the way we react to stress, it's like 6 times higher than European people. You know, so why does that happen? Why do we react to stress and anxiety so much different to the rest of the world? You know, those are the things
we could have that conversation, you know, that's a conversation for another day.
Another day.
Because I'm originally from Botswana, so I sometimes look at, you know, things differently as in a Black person who lives in Botswana or Africa. What are their challenges compared to one who lives here? I feel like sometimes our challenges can be a little bit different, which brings me to another question. So would you still help people who are outside of the UK? Is it only people in the UK, or can you help people from different places as well, virtually?
I do. I was asked to do a Zoom invite to the US. So one of those historic Black colleges, they wanted me to do a mindfulness session for their students. So as long as the time zone, as long as we can sync time zone, I'm more than happy to do this anywhere in the world, because we have the technology now. You don't have to be there physically. You know, we can do it via Zoom. We can do it in large groups. We can do it in small groups. You can do one-to-ones. As long as you have the tech, we're good to go. You know, and mindfulness is universal, so it should be shared universally.
And I must say, what you're doing is really, really good. I'm a big fan myself, to be honest. I just love what you're doing. I've watched the videos as well. You know, I've learned some new techniques, and I thought, wow, this is really interesting. A lot of practitioners, they're like a bit precious with, it's not mine. The way I deliver it is my IP. But the actual exercises, if you did your research, it's out there. It's the way it's delivered. So a lot of people find that, oh, I didn't know. It's all over the web. But it's just a little bit different. Unless you know the names and stuff, or you know what you're doing, it's a bit difficult to find. What I do is I make it really, really simple. So you can go, the idea is that you watch the video and then you can go and do it with somebody else. So each one teach one. And that's my methodology, that I can say to you, go and do it with someone else, and you'll be able to instruct them the same way I've instructed you. And that's what's important. It's not really always about the jargon, or it's really about, you know, these techniques working and helping people. I'm a little bit conscious of time, so I am just going to end it here. We will continue with our conversation. I'll stop the recording, but I just want to say thank you very much. Thank you for all the information that you've given us. At least now we also have your website. We can go to your website.
Mindbubbles, yeah.
Viewers as well can go to your website. Thank you very much to our viewers as well for watching this video. And please make sure to look Stephen's business up. It's not about advertising business, but he's doing a great job. So please do. It's also important.
Thank you for having me.
Also, so thank you very much.